I woke up today, smack dab in the middle of a conversation with Spirit, as one does. And I was very specifically told that today I needed to talk about the concept of divine neutrality. Now, this might have been my team getting after me because I am not neutral. I am not neutral. And I got to tell you, that actually feels really good. It feels good to take a stand. I feel empowered knowing that I'm speaking up for what I believe in and I'm helping others do the same. But nevertheless, as a spiritual concept, learning and mastering divine neutrality is essential for learning to master your, we'll call it the emotional roller coaster of life. Because as we know with life, there is contrast, there is pain. Sometimes we're up and sometimes we're down. So learning to master neutrality is an essential life-saving skill. Now, you've heard me talk about this a little, well, frequently, but a little, when I say do not get attached to the outcome. This is also why I don't do dates, because I know with precognition, things are not set in stone. Things change. Timelines shift rapidly. We never really know when. Spirit always says it happens when it happens. It takes as long as it takes. It happens when enough energy has accumulated. It's not about a date on a calendar. So divine neutrality can help in that way. When we are anxious, nervous, excited, super duper invested in something and when it's going to unfold, divine neutrality helps us navigate the sticky, uncertain stuff in the middle. It also helps us to let go. Helps us to let go of our stranglehold of what we really, really want to see and this better happen or else. And it also helps us flow with the turn of events that are happening that might not initially seem that they're in our best interest, but that we have trust in the divine that all the events unfolding can and do serve a higher purpose. So for me, despite being super invested in terms of what side of the aisle I'm on, what outcome I want to see, I actually am fairly good at divine neutrality. And that's why you see me able to ride these waves calmly, trusting that no matter what is unfolding, well, that's loud. Sorry, it's springtime. I got my windows open. Anyway, trusting that no matter what happens, a divine purpose can be fulfilled through all these things. And I've gotten really good at that, not only through doing my shadow work, but as someone who does client sessions for people for 9 years. I have done client sessions and I've had my clients cry and tell me the most horrific things that have happened to them. And then I've listened to their spirit guides explain why that happened, why that needed to happen, or what good can come because that has now happened. I've also gotten really good at this through literal decades of my life working through mental health challenges. You've heard me say I began struggling with severe depression beginning at age 9, and I'm now 42, almost 43. So this is a life journey I have of learning to battle these emotions, learning to battle my mind, and struggling with that mindset, finessing the mindset until I can not only ride out what's happening, but find joy and excitement no matter what's going on, which is why you see me getting so giddy. I no longer fall into that trap of, oh my gosh, this is amazing and it's totally going to happen and I'm so stoked. And then when it doesn't happen, I tumble down into despair. I've finally broken that cycle. I can find joy in the next thing. But I know from listening to my comments over the past few months, not everyone is there. And so this concept of divine neutrality helps us both when things are really low and when things are getting high and we're not certain how to manage our expectations or manage our emotions through the roller coaster. Divine neutrality can be best summed up in a parable. Maybe you've heard it. This parable goes back to the 2nd century in China, and it's an old Taoist parable called I believe it's the story of the Chinese farmer. Now, when I woke up the morning after the election and I was in a moment of despair, my husband reminded me of this parable. And to this day, since the election, other than a rough couple of hours on Inauguration Day, that was the only time that my emotions have dipped into uncertainty. And this parable reminded me that no matter how it looks out there, we're going to be okay. So the parable goes something like this. So there once was a Chinese farmer, and one day his horse ran away. And that night, all of his neighbors gathered around to commiserate. And they said, oh, we're so sorry. This is a tragedy. This must be the most terrible thing that's ever happened to you and your family. And the farmer says, maybe. Well, a few days later, the horse comes back. And he came back bringing with it 7 wild horses. And that night, the friends and neighbors again came back and said, my goodness, this is such incredible good fortune. Now you have 8 horses. This must be the best thing that has ever happened to you. And the farmer again said, maybe. Well, the farmer soon set to work breaking the wild horses, and he enlisted the help of his son. And it wasn't long before one of the horses bucked his son off and he broke his leg. And once again, everyone gathered round and said, oh, this is such a tragedy. I'm so sorry. This must be such a terrible thing to have happen. And as you can imagine, the farmer said, maybe. Well, while the son was recuperating, it wasn't long before the army came to town, and they took everyone of a certain age and able body. And because the son was injured, he was not taken away to the army. And you can imagine how the story goes. They gathered around to celebrate the good fortune, and again, the farmer said, maybe. Now, this isn't to say that we shouldn't have joy when life brings us a bonus, but it does show us that maintaining that divine neutrality, at the very least, it helps us from the whiplash that can come of getting too wrapped up in the emotional experiences. But as something I like to say, it keeps us from living from the outside in, because a lot of times we get caught up in the trap of feeling that my happiness can only be determined by the circumstances around me, by what's happening externally. And I will only ever be okay if those external circumstances conform to my desires. And again, as someone who has done client sessions for 9 years, I know the mindset of people who are stuck in this place, and it's rough. It is rough. But I also know that these same people are still not happy when something goes their way, because their happiness is not in their hands. They have given away their chance at happiness to the external circumstances. Now, being able to peacefully rest in divine neutrality also requires that we heal the parts of ourselves that have been betrayed or traumatized when the bottom fell out, or if we haven't been able to create security in our lives and we're perpetually in a place of insecurity. Divine neutrality is not about checking out and ignoring what's happening. It's about managing the inside so that you can maintain your peace no matter what happens. And that includes the hard work of shadow work, healing, working on your mindset, all of the above. So I will leave you with that and ask you to keep that in mind the next time that roller coaster is getting a little too high or a little too low. Divine purposes can be fulfilled no matter what is happening. Now, if this was helpful to you, I have an entire playlist called Emotional Support, where I talk through tools and perspectives to help you wrestle control of your mindset and find peace even in troubled times. So go ahead and check it out.